Again. See if it's working now. Working on the mic. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Let me see if this microphone will work. Okay. What about now? I'm testing the new mic. Mic. What about now? I'm testing the new mic. Mic. Cool. Okay. Let's try this all over again. So I'm working on a couple commissions that I didn't get a chance to finish at Art Walk. So right here, we're working on my buddy Spencer's dog. He came up and saw me. Thank you, Spencer, for coming up to see me. That was pretty cool of you. I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. So this is my standard 15-minute pet portrait, and then I've also got a bigger painting that I'm going to do after this. We want to get it done relatively quick because I've got football to watch later. So obviously I want to do a good job, but I want to try to do it quickly. So we're going to start with, he's white, and then he's got like this really cool mask essentially on his face. And so we're going to go ahead and, in order to make it look white, we got to make it gray first. And then when we make everything else around it dark, the gray will seem like it's white. As you are tuning in, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. So I have been doing pens first lately. I forgot about that. So I had a little trouble starting the stream. But I think I am going to do pen first here. So let me grab a pen. Hill, hello, welcome from the Sunshine State. Do I know you from somewhere, Hill Bill? Are you somebody that I know? So I'm going to go ahead and start with some details. So if you don't know, Epic Hill Bill is my fiance Hillary. I don't think she liked my joke very much. So this guy's really cute. It's going to be a fun painting to make because he's relatively simple, but he's not boring, if that makes sense. It's easy for simple dogs to be boring, but he's got some fun contrast to him. So it'll be fun to paint him. We're just going to get some of our initial details in here. So he's got really dark around his eyes. It's really cool, actually. Almost looks like he's wearing goggles. And then I'm going to do faint line here. We'll do a little bit of fur on his ear like this. Okay. So I want to indicate there's some fur in there, and we'll get some indications of fur here as well. He doesn't have a lot of fur, but I want to make what fur he does have fuzzy so that it's an interesting outline. Okay, so there's the basics of what we're going to do here. That's pretty much the outline for now. So I can get back into my watercolors. So he's got this nice pink ear, which I love. Makes for interesting painting, gives some life to him. I'm gonna do a little bit of pink on the backside of this ear as well. It's not really there, but for the sake of I don't know for what sake. For the sake of myself, I suppose, because I feel like doing it. Artistic liberties here. So I'm gonna get a good base color down here for his mask. Avoid all the areas that are going to stay white. Then I can come in with a darker color to do shadows in a second. I'll put a little bit of this in here. This ear is this color as well. I see a line I forgot to do. I'm going to do it. So you see that was wet and the ink kind of bled a little, but that's okay because there's going to be a shadow there. So watch how I save this. Let's get a darker brown. So I'm mixing my sienna-ish color with my umber color. And we'll come in here and make this side of his face in shadow. Yeah, see, there we go. Save that little bit. I'm going to come a little darker back here to push his brow ridge in front of this side of his face. I'm also going to come down here, give him some shadows going on the sides. Okay, so now we've got some really funky colors up in his ear. I'm going to mix like a maroon kind of color I'm going to mark up the inside of his ear a little. He's got some cool splotches going on, which I really like. When I kind of talk this quiet, is it still good audio, Hillary? Let me know. Or should I be talking a little louder? Okay, so there's a good start. We're going to keep darkening the things that need to be darker. And so a good way that I can make brown darker, so you see I've got this kind of brown here. I want to make it darker, and I could keep adding this, right? But it's still going to be really warm, and I want to cool it down a little. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and take my dark blue. I'll show you what this color looks like on its own. On its own, it's a dark blue. So if I mix the two together, they'll cancel each other out and give me a nice dark, cool brown that I can then come in and use for my shadows. It's almost a black. So it might be a little too close to black for my liking. So I'm going to add just a little bit of my sienna. Okay, so I want to soften this edge up. So I've cleaned my brush off, and I can come in here while the paint is still wet. I can soften up this edge. Okay. And so now we'll add a little bit more warmth. I don't want to lose all that warmth that we've already given him. So we're going to add a little bit of it back. And then with this really dark color, I can also put in the nose. And when that dries, it's going to dry a lot lighter. So I don't have to worry about it too much. Let's do some color in his eyes. And once again, that dark for the pupils. I don't have to be too particular with these pupils right now. I'm going to work on them more later. So I got to let them dry. Add a couple of these burgundy spots back in. And so for the sake of consistency throughout the piece, I'm going to actually come in with this burgundy color that I just used and add some of that into my shadows. And while that's not actually what's there, it's going to help me by kind of pulling everything together. You want to try to limit your palette as much as possible. Well, you don't have to, but it helps to make a more cohesive painting if you limit your palette. And so that's what I'm doing here. Now let's do some detailing on the white again. I've got a pretty dry brush. I'm adding some streaks here, which are like where his little dark spots on his face are. I'm going to come in, and I know this is really dark, but I'm going to come in and make it really dark under the chin so that the chin stands out. And then I can come in with a clean brush and I can soften that back. You see how that makes the chin stand out? It's exactly what I'm looking for. So I think I actually want to add a little bit of a lower lip here. Just like that. Nothing crazy. and I want to add pupils as well. So when I add pupils, I'm really only concerned with the bottom edge of it. Then I can just kind of scrape it in above, and it doesn't have to be as particular up on the top side. Let me get some more of my gray and add some shadows to like the sides of his face. Anything that's underneath something is going to be darker so that it pushes it back. And so because this is a white dog, I'm going to want to give him some dark background so that he stands out better. And so that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do next, is we're going to work on the background. So what color should I do the background? I'll give you guys a second to let me know what you think. And I'll also zoom in a little so we can see. What color should I do for the background? What do you think? I've got a lot of options. So option-wise, I got a lot of stuff going on. So let's ignore this bottom row. I've got 20 or so colors that I could do a background for. Which one is standing out the most to you? Purple? Okay, Hill. We can do purple. So I've got a nice purple here. This is the only specifically purple paint that I have. I'll show you what that looks like. Is that good? What do you think about that? So I can do that really dark purple, and then I also have a really dark blue that go really well together. Should we do that? Like a really dark purpley blue background so that I can make the white pop? You think that's a good idea? Cool. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for your input. Slide this guy back here. Let's give it a shot, huh? So I'm going to start by mixing the two together. I don't know if you can see this. You definitely can't. If I turn it this way, you might be able to see it. So I'm going to mix these two together. And let's start along the top edge here. So this is that dark blue and purple mixed together. Wow, that's so dark. Good call, Hillary. And it's obviously going to get lighter when it dries, but I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll still look pretty good. And if we have to darken it more, we can, just by making a couple different layers. That's going to help the white to stand out a ton, though. And so I'm constantly mixing my color. And so it may not be perfectly uniform across the whole background, but that's not an issue. It provides a little intrigue to the painting. So like this last one I just mixed here is probably a little more blue than purple. The other ones were a little more purple. That's not really a problem. At least it's not a problem in my opinion. But what this is going to let me do, this really dark background, is it's going to let me use my white pens to make some really poppy highlights. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit and work on some more detailing on the dog. I'm going to mix up another nice shadow color. So I'm going to add some more shadows to him. We've got some darkness here, plenty of darkness here, a little bit underneath, and then I can come through here and soften all those out. Okay, it's pretty good. I want to add a little bit of this background color into the dog itself too. For the same reason I added some pink to him from the ear, it just makes it a more cohesive painting. So I'm going to go in some of my really dark highlights. I'm going to add some of this bluey purple color. Not enough to take over and make him look like a purple dog, but just enough to imply the shadows. And you see, that didn't turn him purple. It just made the white look more three-dimensional. You like it, Hal? Good color? So what that's going to let me do is sign with my white pen as well, which I don't always get to do. So that should be fun. And I can also write his name in white pen. But I don't remember what his name is. So I might have to do that on another date. I'm just making sure this is plenty dry before I come in with my white pen. Which it is. And now we can do some fun stuff. So I can come through here. See how that just makes him pop off the background like that? He's got little dog whiskers and eyelashes and stuff. And then we can add highlights to his eyes, to his nose a little. Maybe we'll put a little highlight here. Cool. What do you think about that? I'm happy with that. That's really cool. So I do have space to put his name. I don't remember what his name is though, so that's an issue. You don't have Spencer's number, do you, Hal? I don't think you do, but you might. But for now, I'm going to sign it, and then we can get started on the next one. So sign in white pen. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one is a bigger commission that was paid for while we were at the show. I'm going to get to do a little bit more fancy details onto this guy. So I'm going to make some space. I'll move this guy off to the side. Let's get a big sheet of paper. Jones? Yeah. Okay, so this one is going to be 8 by 10 or 10 by 8, but whatever, same shit. So I've got my samples here. And I'm going to do it landscape, but this is not the right size paper. This paper is 9 by 12. So I got to go get a piece, tool to cut this paper with real quick. So I'll be back in 5 seconds. Are you messaging him on Facebook? Is that what you're doing? He should be there on Facebook. That's how I found him. Okay. So this is a 9 by 11 sheet of paper. So I'm going to have to cut it down. I've just got a nice little paper cutter here. So we'll measure it. Here's the 10-inch side. This pink one is for scoring, and the tan one is for cutting. So there's 10. Now it's 10 by 9. I need to make it 10 by 8. So we line it up to 8 inches. Slice an inch off. So I'll save these scraps. You never know when I'm going to use them again. I use these little 1-inch slices for price tags when I go to art shows. So I always save my scrap paper. You never know when you're going to need it. And now we have 10 by 8. 8 by 10. 10 by 8. So I've got 2 dogs I'm going to do on this one. Names, I don't recall. I've got them on my phone though, so I will have to check that. Actually, let me check that really quickly. Okay, so we're going to do Winter and Gidget. I've got this here. Okay, so we're going to do Winter and Gidget. I've got this here. I figure I'll draw them with you guys. We'll see. Hopefully I don't really ruin this. No, I'll be fine. I'm a professional. So 2 dogs. I'm going to start by marking out what goes where. Fortunately, the photos that I got, they're facing opposite directions. So I already know who's going on what side. We've got one over here. These are very rough right now, obviously. We've got something like that for the first one. Very rough, very rough, very light. You can't see it, but that's the point. Next one. See, the thing is, this one looks like a Gidget to me. And this one looks like a Winter to me, but this one's white. So if they were going to name, and this one's mostly black. So If they named the black dog Winter, sure, whatever. But I would imagine that this one's Winter, but it looks like a Gidget. So I don't know. I'm going to ask the owner. Don't worry about that. Right now, we just got to worry about making the painting first. So, rough dog head shape. Eyes kind of like there-ish. Nose kind of like there. Happy little face. These are both really cute dogs. Okay, so that's kind of my rough outlines of what's going where. So we're going to start with one. I don't know which one I want to start with. So since I'm left-handed, it's easier for me to work from right to left, because if I were to do this and then work on this one, I'm going to smudge it all over with my hand. So I made the decision for myself. And so these are all rough guides, so it's not guaranteed that this is exactly where I'm going to want to put it. But for the most part, it's accurate. I like to start with the nose, get that in, and then we can find out where the rest of it's going to go. It's just a preference. You don't have to start with the nose. It's just nice for me to get something down. Then I know where everything, I can place everything in relation to that from now on. So we've got some fluff going on. So this one here's got her tongue out, which I love. We're going to make sure to get that in. So this is a white dog, which makes my life a little harder because it's harder to see what's going on. But that's okay. We can make it work. So I'm going to use those circles I drew as rough guides as to where the eyes should go. I know the rough shape of the eyes. So those are a little too close together, I feel. I'll just pull it a little further away. That feels better to me. Okay, rough. I keep saying rough. It's very funny to me because I'm working on dogs, saying rough. So we've got some long fur above the eye here. Same thing here. Kind of almost like an eyebrow. Okay, then the ears over here. Oh my God, John. Yep.
Is that Dom?
Yeah. Why?
That was a wedding I was invited to.
Whose wedding?
Josh. One of Dylan's best friends. That's crazy, right?
Dom and Spencer are friends with Dylan?
One of Dylan's best friends.
That's freaky. So we just learned that some of my friends are friends with some of Hillary's friends, and we didn't know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's Dom and Spencer.
There's Spencer there too. That's crazy.
Hillary's losing her mind. So it looks here like she's got her ears tied up or some of her hair tied up into little ponytails. I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna kind of, here we go, rough it in. Did it again. Sorry. This is just part of my vocabulary. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a little bit like this underneath each of the dogs. So there's the first one. I may tweak it a little bit more. We'll see what I want to do when the time comes. But let's get both dogs in here. So there's our nose. And this is how I can find my shapes here.
Oh my god.
What?
Cody's on the other side.
Did you not look at this photo very well?
I've never looked at this photo before. What the fuck?
Yeah, they're all buds, honey.
You know Josh?
Josh who?
Gross.
I don't know. You have to show me a picture. So our eyes here are, I don't know, what do you call that? Almond shape? So such cute little dogs. Okay, so we got big fluffy ears. We lose kind of the face shape in here just due to the nature of it being black. It's kind of hard to keep details. I know roughly the shape of the dog's head's supposed to be, so I can kind of put that in, but I might have to make some stuff up, which is fine. Hill, were you going to show me a picture of this guy that everybody knows? Okay. I think this eye is too close. That's better. I want to change the shape of this one just a tad. Make it a little more narrow. Yeah, that's better. I like that more. So we can add some fuzzy ears. Ear shape doesn't really matter for this one because we've got a lot of hair going on. It's not something I got to worry about. Okay, so there is our pencil sketch of our dogs. That seems pretty good. So we're going to jump into the pens now. Same deal here. I'm going to work from right to left. And I can work with line weight here. To help me get some details that I otherwise would have to work a little harder on. So, for example, top of the eye I'll thicken up, and it's going to make it look like almost an eyelash. Which helps to kind of personify the dogs. Can you guys hear Hill in the other room?
What are you doing?
Doesn't seem like it.
Can you help me? Yeah, no problem. Just said that.
I'm trying to give some good indications of general fur texture and direction. So now it's time to try to figure out what's going on with these little bows. So I'm kind of just making something up here. That's fine though. So it's gonna look good no matter what. So I'm not too concerned. Okay, so we've got our little bows here, and we can put some fur sticking at the top. And she's got some okay, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to darken up some of the outlines so I can give myself a little bit more of an indication. Let's do this tongue. Okay, so now I'm going to do just some rough random shapes in here. Okay, so there's the first one. Let's jump over to the second one. Okay, so we're just going to keep going here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to kind of indicate here where the line goes roughly. Because obviously it's not going to be a hard line. And then this down here is going to pretty much all be in shadow. So you're not going to be able to tell anything that's going on back down there. Which is not the end of the world. Same thing for this side. Can't really tell what goes where. But we can tell that there's a giant ear over here. And we've got a nice bright white chest. Okay. Is that good? That's good. All right, so there is our pen drawings. Same thing again here. I'm going to work from right to left, but now is not such a big deal because I can kind of hop back and forth. But I'm going to start on this one over here because it's a lighter color. And so I can mix together this brownish color that I have sitting. And it's mostly white, so I can come in here and mark in some of our darker areas, and then I can blend it all together. So that's a little too brown. Let me go in with a little bit more gray. This ear is nice and dark. We're going to have some shadows here underneath this stuff. Another good way to make something look white is to actually paint it blue as well. I don't do that as often for dogs because usually they've got a little bit of brown or a little bit of pink going on. But I'm going to add some blue here to kind of give myself more of a blue-gray. We just got some colors going in. So it's hard to add white. You know, when I'm painting like this, I've got to put something down. If I put nothing down, it'll be white, but it won't be a very interesting white. So I kind of paint it very softly colored, and then I can come back and I can darken up some areas, or I can come back with my white pen and add some highlights like I did for the last dog. Let's do, we got some dark around the eyes and then some dark in the eyes themselves. Darken up the nose. Once again, this is going to dry a lot lighter. It's not going to stay that black. That's fine. We've got some nice dark areas in the ear as well. The ear is a nice dark gray. Same with a little bit of the face here. Okay, same deal. We got a white chest, but I want the face to pop out. It's pretty much the same color in the original, but I get the creative liberty to change that. And for the sake of my painting, I want to make the chest a little darker, because that way I get a more readable final piece. Okay, so we've got red ribbons. We're going to add red ribbons. And then I've got a nice dark color I can put inside here. And I could also use that as a little bit of shadow for the tongue as well. Okay. So I don't want to get too finished on this side before I do this side. So I'm going to jump over here now and do the same kind of deal. So we'll start with the white. The best way to make it white is to paint it gray. When I put this black in, this is going to stand out and seem like it's white. So I know right now, you're like, what are you doing? But you'll see. You'll see. Let's give it some color so that we can play with it. Okay, so now when I do some black, so I can very easily mix my own black. I showed you before. I've got brown and blue, and I can mix those together to make a pretty convincing black. And it's an interesting black as well. I do, however, have black as well. And so I never recommend that you paint with just one color. I always recommend that you mix your colors together when you're painting. So I can use this black as long as I'm not just using black, it's not going to flatten the painting out too much. So for example, I'm going to go with black and blue here to give me kind of a cooler look. And then when I go with a warmer black, that's going to stand on top of the cooler black, and it'll give me even darker looking shadows. I will show you what I mean in a second here. So obviously this is not as black as I could get it. But for demonstration purposes, you see this area is pretty dark. If I now go in with my black and I warm it up, it's going to make this black stand out even more while it's on top of the light colored black underneath it. And that's kind of one of the things that is really important to master when you're painting with watercolors, is working with layering and making sure that you get all that you can out of your colors. So that looks crazy right now, I know. But now I can clean my brush off, and while this is still wet, I can soften these edges up. And it's just going to give me the shadows I'm looking for in the places I need them to be. Okay, so now let's get some good black. And I want to give this hair or fur some texture. Oh, hey, Ketchup, welcome back. So I did this one earlier, and it was kind of a quick warm up from my art walk. And then this is a commission that I'm working on. So I'm going to do this until I'm done, or 3 o'clock, whichever one comes first. Good to see you, Ketchup. I haven't streamed in a while. So I want this ear to sit on top of the body behind it. So I'm going to try to do something like that. Thank you, Ketchup. Yeah, I haven't streamed. I didn't stream last week. I had stuff going on Sunday. That was, I forget what I was doing on Sunday last week, but I was busy. I didn't stream last week, so you didn't miss anything. The one before was a simple little one too, so I don't think you missed too much. But I had art walk Friday night, so I took a bunch of commissions. I was making 15-minute pet portraits. Oh yeah, I had a painting class last Sunday. That's what it was. So I was busy. But Friday was art walk, and I was taking 15-minute pet portrait commissions at art walk, and I had more commissions than I had time to finish. And so I finished a couple yesterday for my YouTube video. I finished this one that I started with today. This one's actually for my buddy Spencer, who I bowl with. I'm gonna, I think, put the name here, but I don't remember what the name is. I'm waiting on him to reply about that. And then this is a commission that I got from a guy there. I want to say his name was George. He wanted me to do, I had done a painting for one of his friends, and he wanted me to do a slightly larger one of these two dogs. Gidget and Winter are their names. I don't know who's who though. So what I'm doing here is I'm just lifting up a little so I can get kind of like a highlight section. I'm going to come back in with some really dark black for the recessed areas. Like here, under the eye. Down here. Back in here is really dark. Where was Art Walk? It was downtown Fort Myers. So they do them every month. They do the first Friday night of every month. They have an art walk in downtown Fort Myers. Next month they will not be doing one because that first Friday is the 2nd of January, and there will be another event there. But in February, I will be back out there in downtown Cape. Yeah, Hill Ketchup lives in the area. He is he's related to Eric at your work. He's on the other side.
Oh.
Yeah.
And James?
Yeah. He's on the other side though, with Philip and Cameron.
Oh, okay.
That you don't know as well.
Everyone loves Eric.
Yeah, Hillary says everybody loves Eric. I'm sure he does too. You're still in school, right, Ketchup? You guys are close to winter break, I think, right? In a week or two. Ketchup thinks they're hanging out with Eric on Friday. That's funny. So you lose a lot of detail when you've got really dark paintings like this. But one of the things I can do is I can come through here when I'm happy with the paint job, and I can use my white pen to add some highlights back into this. Let's do this nose. So I'm going to add brown to this nose and a little pink just to warm it up. So we got a lot of black going on. I'm going to put that same color in the eyes as well to start. Maybe down here too. I just want a little bit more warmth in some of these areas. We're getting pretty one note, and I want to avoid that if at all possible. And so what this is there is some color on the skin next to the nose that the fur doesn't quite cover up all the way. So I'm going to put it in, and then I can come through with a clean, damp brush and soften up these edges. And it'll just make it disappear under the fur. Okay, and then I come back and darken this nose even more. When that dries, it'll be nice and dark. I'm trying to avoid pooling, so anytime I see it pool a little bit, I'm going to pick it up. He's the MVP, Hill says, talking about Eric. Yeah, he's pretty cool. So I'm going to come through and I want to put some more detail into the white fur here. So we're going to get our black and blue. Let's do some shadow detailing. Once again, this looks really dark because it is pretty dark, but then I can come through here with a clean brush, soften these edges up, which will take away a lot of that scariness and just help me to make the mouth pop just a little bit more. We got black lips going on. Let's worry about his tongue, or her tongue, sorry. So that's enough color, but it's not in enough area, so I can get it wet and slowly blend it out. Cool, cool, cool. So I don't like this stark white here. Just when my brush is wet, I'm going to kind of just touch it, bring it down a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in now with my black pen to start. And I'm going to add some lines through here. I'm also going to do this with my white pen in a second, but I want to start with my black pen.
What's the hardest part of making a painting of a pet or just an animal in general?
I would say the hardest part is that's a really good question. I'd say it's a lot easier to get a likeness in an animal than it is to do in a person. So I think probably the hardest part is understanding the anatomy underneath the animal. So for example, these dogs, obviously they've got a lot of fur, and I, via having done this a lot, know what the head is shaped like underneath. And so, like, for example, I know that the way that this dog's head works, right, is the skull's up here, right, and it comes down this way at an angle. Whereas for a human head, for example, is not like that. So here, I will show you a little demonstration. So when I get this here, let's zoom in. So a human head, right? We've got a circle that's kind of cut off on the sides, and then it comes down into a chin, right? So that's the rough shape of a human head. A dog head is not quite the same. So a dog is more of this kind of shape, almost like a stop sign with a teardrop coming out of it, or a kind of awkward parallelogram. And so whereas a human, you can put ears down here, and I could even put ears up here and it'll still make sense. A dog's ears can only really go in one spot. And if you put a dog's ear too low, it starts to look like a different animal, right? So if I do the same shape for a dog again, if I put the ears down here too low, all right, we'll do the same ear shape. That's not a dog anymore. That's a pig. So positioning of the different shapes and parts of the body on the dog's or any animal's face is more important than it is for a human, because like this is still a person. If I put the ears down here, it's just a dude with a big ass forehead, right? If I put the ears way up high, it's still a dude. He just has a really big chin. But here, I move the ears down a little too much. It's no longer a dog. If I move the ears up too much, it's also no longer a dog. So it's very important to get them in the right spot. And especially with something like, for example, this little one here. You can't see any of the anatomy on her. So it's difficult to just draw it. Sometimes you can just kind of copy what you see and make it work. But for these ones, you kind of got to know exactly where it's supposed to go so that you can put it in the right spot to begin with. I'm getting low on battery, so I'm going to switch my mic around. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, my mic should be lower quality, but you should still be able to hear me. Hillary, let me know if you can hear me still. Yes, no, maybe. Can you hear me, Hill?
Beautiful.
Still hear me good?
Yeah.
Cool. So I had to move I gotta charge my phone. So I have to mess with some stuff really quickly. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta go get a plug to plug my phone in. Okay, I found a portable charger. We will see if this has enough juice. Appears to be charging. So we'll rock with that for a little while. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, continuing on, we are very familiar with human anatomy. So if you're drawing a person's face, you can kind of tell when it looks off, and you can, in most cases, know what part of it looks weird. But sometimes for certain animals, like dogs and things like that, it's hard to know where you went wrong because you're not as inherently familiar with what it's supposed to look like. And so for the pupils on these guys, I'm only concerned with the bottom of the pupil. And then I just kind of let it taper off toward the top with my hatch lines. It's probably when it talks about my car's extended warranty or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Whatever, it is what it is. So I'm gonna add some more shading down here. This just giving me an opportunity to make some more interesting marks. So it's, at the end of the day, that's all painting is, right? It's just a bunch of interesting marks all stacked on top of each other. Okay, so let's come in with some white pen detailing. So this is gonna be fun. Let's start with the eye highlights. And I want them to have the same highlights on their eyes so that it looks like a consistent painting. And then I can come through here now and pull some white into my dark areas to make everything look like it's more together. So for example, I can do some lines here. I can do some white lines that go on top of the eyeballs. I can pull in this edge here. I can give a little highlight on the underside of the eyelids. She's got some white whiskers. Same thing up here. Some little eyebrow whisker things. I'm not exactly sure what you would call them, but most dogs have them. They're like whiskers, but above the eyes. It's more prominent on cats, but dogs do have them as well. So I want to add some thicker details too. I've got a different pen for that. I've got my big white Posca marker. And so if I wanted to do some more exaggerated lines through here, you see that provides me an opportunity to do that. There is a little bit of dark spot in her nose here. Want to get that in. Little details like that is what gives a good likeness to these paintings. I get a little darkness up here too for the same reason. So when I'm squinting here, I think that this side of the face looks a little fat. And one of the things I can do to fix that is come through here like this. And just decide a new line. There we go. I'm gonna warm up these eyes a little. They are not this warm in the photo, but it's gonna help to bring some more life into the painting if I add some warmth into the eyes. Same thing for our girl over here too. Just going to make it a little more interesting. You may not even be able to tell the difference, but it does give it a little more life from my view in person. Okay, let's do a little bit more of this, and then let's jump into the background. So background wise, I'm kind of deciding here what I want to do. Looking at the dogs, obviously we've got pretty simple colored dogs, and that's going to give me a lot of freedom to kind of pick whatever I feel like. Just adding some more shadows down here while I'm talking to you. So I'm kind of looking at my colors and what I've got here. And the only color I know that I'm not going to do is anything on my bottom row, right? All of these. I'll show you again in case you missed it the first time we picked colors. I'm not going to do anything on my bottom row because this is brown, brown, black, white. Don't care. So these top 5 rows, I've got some interesting colors in here. I'm not going to do any reds because we've got red in the bow and it's going to drown it out. So I could do yellow, green, or, you know, like a bluish color. I do a lot of blue. I do a lot of teal. I just did that one purple, which was pretty nice, but I think that would be too dark for what we're going for. I think I'm going to do yellow. I did a yellow one yesterday, and I really liked it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. What do you guys think about yellow? Hey, Hal, could you find me a plug to charge my phone? This portable charger is no good. It's dead. I just need the piece that plugs into the wall.
You mean we didn't turn it off yesterday?
Sure. I just need the wall part.
Just so the cube.
Yeah, just the cube. What do you think about yellow? Think it's a good color?
Yeah, I liked this color range.
That greeny tealy color?
Yeah,
Sure.
because it has that yellowy light green too.
Sure, I could do that. So how about I start with
Because
yellow?
I figured the dark would complement on this side and the light would complement on that side. Well, both of them would because they're both more. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. So how about I start with yellow and then I put some green into it
Yeah.
so that it's not all one color.
And it'd be using layers. Isn't that the key?
Yep, layers are the key. Good call, Hill. She's learning, folks. She's learning. She's been to enough of my classes. I would hope that she's figured it out by now. So that's what we decided. We're going to go with yellow primarily, and then we will come through and add some green detail colors. So I could use my round brush I've been using the whole time. I could. However, I've got a bigger one. Or why not use a bigger one? I don't want to, so I have this huge mop brush, but I'm not going to be able to get close enough to the thing to make any good details with this. So I've got a nice flat brush that I'm going to use instead. So I need to clear off a little space on my palette. So the whole thing is all covered in colors. I'm going to clear off where the green used to be. It's okay if I don't get it perfect because we're going to mix these colors together, remember? But I'm going to start with this yellow. It's a very vibrant yellow, so it'll be a lot of fun to paint with. And we'll start here. So there's two schools of thought. Some people like to tape their paintings down and get a nice hard edge. I do like that in some cases. When I'm doing these quick pet portraits, I don't always do that, just because I think it's, in the 15 minutes, having to like tape something down is annoying. And I work at the shows, I work on a tablecloth, which is hard to stick things to. So I don't add, I add a raw edge or a paint edge to my paintings. And I like the way that looks for a pet portrait. So I'm going to keep it that way for these guys as well. Also partially because I started and had not already put tape down. It's going to be a pain in the butt to try to tape it down now. So I'm going to start with this yellow, like we said. And then I can come in and add some more colors to it. So I can, what I can do is I can have some green and some red, which are connected via this yellow. If you were to go from red to green on a color wheel, you got to pass through yellow to get there. And so I can darken it up in two different ways, which is always fun. So let's go ahead and get some green. And we'll add some green areas. Where? I don't know. Just kind of wherever I feel like. And I'll let them do whatever they are going to want to do. So if it wants to blend in, it can blend in. If it wants to stay hard-edged, it can stay hard-edged. I don't care. But I tell you, I don't want red. Certainly I don't want red anywhere near my red bows on this girl here. So we're not going to put any red over here. This side will be the green side. Oh, and that's kind of cool, that texture. The dry brush texture that I get. So I'm going to keep doing that. And the way you do that is, you see I don't have a lot of water. So my brush has these breaks in it. And I can go very lightly and use very little pressure to apply some streaky effects, which looks really cool. Okay, so now we can come in with some red and do the same thing. I want it to be a little more dry. That's pretty cool. Clean my brush. Just a little damp. I'm going to come in and kind of soften a little bit of that. So in between green and red, at some point, you get kind of like this yellowy orange color. So I can add that kind of toward the center without getting nasty, muddy colors going on, which is what I'm trying to avoid here. And I don't really have the space on this side to completely go around the dog, but that's a-okay. All right, nice. So I have room to put their names. I don't know who's who, but maybe if I just write them both here, it won't really matter. But we do have to let it dry in order to do that. We're doing good on time. I said I wanted to finish by about 3, and it looks like we're going to. So right now what I'm doing is, along with letting my paint dry, I'm also looking at my reference photos, seeing if I've missed anything, or if there's anything I need to kind of further work on. And I'm noticing that we could go darker here. And so I'm going to do that. The best way to make something look realistic, I'm not even going to say realistic, but like a painting just looks better if it's got more contrast. Obviously, to a certain extent, that's true. You could definitely have too much contrast, but I think I can get away with adding more contrast to this painting. So that's what I'm going to do. Our brains are trained to find high contrast areas and to notice them. I think it's part of our little lizard monkey brains. So the highest contrast point on an animal usually is its eyes. So you've got your dark black pupils and the white eye. And so that high contrast is something that we're drawn to being able to see. So like if something is looking at you through the bushes out of the corner of your eye, you're more likely to see it. If your brain is drawn toward high contrast things. That's why sometimes you'll feel like somebody's staring at you, and you'll have that feeling, and out of the corner of your eye you feel like you're being watched, and then you look and somebody is looking at you. That's why, because our peripherals and our brains are trained to notice high contrast. And so that high contrast of somebody looking at you with their white eye and the black pupil in the middle of it, we pick up on, whether we realize we're picking up on it or not. It gives us that fight or flight, that sense of unease. And so that's how we can kind of see people looking at us without even seeing it. Okay. I'm just kind of giving it a look over. Whenever I work on something like this, I never just immediately turn it in, you know. Even my 15-minute drawings, I let them sit for a few minutes before I give them back to the person, just to be sure that there's nothing else I want to add. But especially a bigger commission like this, there's a lot more things that I could miss, potentially. But I'm pretty happy with it. So maybe let's put the names in, huh? So I've got my notes, we have Winter and Gidget. And so how about we'll try this. That looks pretty good to me. So I've got this brush pen. It allows me to work on or to apply more pressure for a thicker line. And so whenever I'm going, the way that I do my lettering is anytime my stroke's going down, I apply more pressure. When my stroke's coming up, I take off pressure. And so, for example, light pressure, firm pressure. Light pressure, firm pressure. Firm to light to firm again. We go firm, soft. Yep, anytime I go down, I'm pushing down harder. Okay. So there we go. Winter and Gidget. We're just, I can noodle around with this all day if I wanted to. One of the hardest things to learn, one of the hardest skills to master as an artist is knowing when to say enough is enough. I could keep noodling with this forever, and then I would never make any money because I would never have anything to turn in to my clients. So I gotta know when to call it, and I'd say this is pretty good. So now I get to pick where to sign. I usually sign in the bottom right hand corner. I see a nice spot here that I could sign, so I think that's where I'm gonna sign. I've changed a lot more recently about my signing habits, because I used to only sign in one area to the detriment of my painting sometimes even. And so now I kind of favor this corner, but if I have an interesting area that I could sign in, I prefer to sign there. So that's gonna do it. I've got some football to watch starting at 4. So this will give me time to clean up and get in contact with the owner and let them know that I'm finished with their painting. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As is the case, typically the highest number of views is right at the end of the show. I've had 1 to 3 people all live, and now that I'm finished, I've got 4. Funny how that works, huh? So let's pull this guy back in here. We can see what we've done today. Let me see if the owner got back to me. Jace YT. Is that okay, let's add a name to Donkey here too. So we're gonna give him a name up top. And I'm gonna do white pen. Oh, cool. So I signed in white pen on this guy, and the purple bled through and made it into pink, which is sick. So let's go ahead and sign here for Donkey. I'm gonna put it in pencil first.
When you say clean up, you mean cuddle, right?
Something like that, honey, yeah. Okay, so there's Donkey. So this guy, I can't really vary my line weight. Because it's not a brush pen, but it is what it is. I can kind of cheat it a little, but it's not the end of the world. I am going to cheat it a little. I lied. It is the end of the world. Okay, there's our boy Donkey. I love it. So, once again, here's our 2 paintings that we did today. I'd say those are pretty successful. We got to find a frame for this guy, but I don't want to do that right now. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. W Art Twin. Looks really great. I like the background. Thank you so much. I think we came up with a good color here. The yellow base tone with the red and green made for some interesting colors in the background. So that's going to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you like this kind of content, I post these videos all the time, 3 days a week, and a lot of them are doing things very similar to this. So check out my channel. Come see me at Art Walk in February. First Friday of February, I'll be there. Maybe sooner or at another event, but I don't know yet. Thank you guys once again. I really appreciate it, but I'm gonna call it. I got about an hour to go enjoy myself before I have to go stress out about football. So I'll see you guys hopefully next week. I can do a Sunday stream again, but I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.